What's up, everybody? Today we are going to do the Pacific Kickoff Pick'ems. I know you guys have been asking for this because obviously I coached in the league last year, so I definitely have some opinions on these teams. And with that being said, let's hop right into our very first game, which is going to be Nongshim against Team Secret. Now, Team Secret has fairly recently finalized their roster. They kept Kelly S. Jesse Vash came back into the official roster. Sylvan, kind of a strange pickup, coming over from T1. 1010 coming over from Zeta Division, Meteor's brother. And then Berserk's coming over from Boom, who is no longer in the league. Their analyst was promoted to head coach. And so it's kind of an eclectic roster. Definitely some interesting stuff going on here. Honestly, I don't hate this roster. I know that probably Team Secret fans are fairly underwhelmed, but I think they have some pretty good players. I don't know how they're going to work. I don't necessarily know like how the different factions of this team are going to gel together, but they definitely have skilled players, and seemingly they have their roles fairly in order as well. So I don't hate this team. However, I think Nongshim probably just has the better system going. Um, Obviously, they had to requalify for the league. They had to re-win Ascension after ascending the year previously, and they looked quite good at Ascension, even though they had switched out Persia for X-Ross. I would assume that his growth will just continue from here. He's a very, very good player. When I asked Udaton, my player in Global Esports last year, who he thought was like the next up in Korea, he told me it was X-Ross, and now he's on Nongshim playing full time. So seemingly a pretty good pickup for them. He looked a little shaky on smokes initially, but I think kind of came into his own over the course of Ascension. And so probably it should just kind of be a firepower upgrade, even though Persia was great. I really like what Nongshim was doing towards the end of last year with Francis sort of playing like the op role, Danby being the guy who's just sending it in. And if they can kind of build on what they had already last year, I'm pretty high on this team going forward. And just because of that, I think Team Secret may end up being an okay team, but I think at the beginning of the year, I'm definitely going to be betting on Nongshim to beat them. So we'll send Nongshim through. And then we will go on to our next game, which is Zeta Division against Full Sense. Now, this one is also kind of interesting. Zeta Division recently finalized their roster as well. Echo, Absol, Ciota being the new players, joining XDLL and Sugar Zero. Of course, probably the biggest news in the offseason was that Minnie, the former Fnatic head coach, is now sort of like a consulting slash assistant coach for them. I'm not entirely sure what that role constitutes, but they definitely need some help over there at Zeta Division. And, even with him potentially working his magic, I have a very hard time picking them to do anything this year just because I feel like there's better players out there that they could have picked up in the Japanese scene, even in tier 2. And so I'm pretty underwhelmed with this roster. Obviously, Valorant is a game where talent is not 100% everything, and sort of like the whole of the sum of the parts rather is more relevant than necessarily having the best player at every single position. But I'm just not really seeing the vision here for this team. So I think even though Full Sense, they had a tumultuous offseason, I guess for those of you who have been living under a rock, Full Sense is basically just Talon, who was kicked out of the league for financial reasons. And Talon has just moved over to Full Sense, or the Talon roster has moved over to Full Sense. Cruz going to head coach, and Leviathan staying on the roster is kind of an interesting thing. How will Cruz do as a head coach? Frost was kind of, giving him a lot of credit last year, saying that he could be a head coach. The main thing is that his IGL was really good. And so in the actual game, now that he only has 2 timeouts that he can use to affect the game, how will that relationship work? How much impact can he actually have? But these guys are very, very skilled. They played a whole year together, or most of a year together, and they were quite good. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and send them through over Zeta Division. Okay. The game that you guys are all excited for, of course, right? Former Global Esports head coach talks about his former team. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I'm sending them through right away. Now, the reality of this is that I don't know how this roster is going to come together. Obviously, I've been out of the team for a while. I know that Udaton and Crystal are very good players. Autumn has been a very good player in China. Javi was great in Ascension and in Tier 2 last year. Actually, we tried him out, and he was like very, very close to making the team last year. And then obviously Patman, the final piece being added here, is a very interesting team. It's a very interesting team. Role-wise, I'm not entirely sure what's happening here. I've heard rumors that maybe Javi is playing Smokes, Patman playing the Flex, Autumn Sentinel, Yudaton Duelist, but I don't actually know what's going on here as far as their roles. They definitely have a little bit of role overlap between Javi and Crystal and Patman. Yudaton and Autumn kind of playing the same stuff as well. So I don't really know what they're going to look like, but I do have some faith in Frost to put together some good game plans, some good ideas. The players seem to respect him, which is a huge thing as well. And so I think just based off of the fact that I know that we've got a lot of talent on this team and we've got some good leadership, I think that's enough to beat Veryl. Now, obviously, Veryl was SLT. They were the winners of Ascension alongside Nongshim. And I feel like this team is coming out of Ascension with a huge amount of hype, and I'm not really buying into the hype personally. They definitely have good players, like Zuna is incredible. Zexy is very good as well. But I don't think they're going to be able to get away with the same style that they had in Ascension in Tier 1. I've been one of those people that's talked a lot about how the difference between Tier 1 and Tier 2 is really not that big, at least skill-wise. But I think when it comes to like the structure of the team, the ideas, the prep, that type of thing, that's sort of where the gaps tend to be shown. And for me, this is a team that relies extremely heavily on just like individual chaos plays. And they do a lot of crazy stuff. They're very aggressive. They can all shoot super well. But I do not think that this is a team that's going to be able to outshoot global esports. And I also don't think that Frost is the type of coach that's going to let the chaos of a team derail his game plans, unless maybe that team is Paper X, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But for me, I feel like coming into this, Frost knows what Veryl's going to bring. Veryl doesn't know what Global Esports is going to bring, and I'm pretty confident that the global game plan and team should be in a decent state coming into the season. So I'm going to send them through. Moving on to DFM and Gen G. This is a very weird one for me. Gen G, I was kind of worried about them after watching some of the off-season events, just because, I mean, the lack of Munchkin is very palpable. It's very obvious that their IGLing and mid-rounding and stuff is significantly weaker than it was last year. And some of the ideas that they have, and even they were playing some of their comps from last year and clearly not playing them nearly as well as they were with Munchkin. But I will say that Zinx is a very skilled player, and it may be a situation where Gen G needs to lean a little bit more into him being pretty good at Duelist and playing a different style than they were trying to play last year. So, they are maybe a bit of a in transition team, and that is the type of team that, a kind of a weird team like DFM could potentially take advantage of. But the thing is with DFM, I don't even know who their fifth player is. Apparently it's not Foxy9. That's sort of been like the consistent thing that I've been hearing, is that Foxy9 is not the fifth player for DFM. And so I don't even know who their fifth player is. I don't know what's going on with this team. And, they do obviously have a great player in May, but I think just based off of like the structure of Gen G, it's solid, even though it might not be as good as last year. I think they're going to be a decent team at the very least. And DFM is a very hit and miss team. Kind of depends on whether they show up on the day or not. I have not had a huge amount of confidence in their game plans and even like some of their coaching decisions and timeouts and stuff like that. So I think we're just going to go with Gen G here, send DFM to the lower bracket, and let's go ahead and talk about upper round number 2. Okay, so this one is a little bit tough for me because I am a pretty big fan of what Nongshim's doing. I've been fairly open about that. I like a lot of their ideas. I like how they play the game. But for me, this T1 team is kind of different. Obviously, they brought in Munchkin, and people were a little bit surprised that Stax wasn't kicked, and they got rid of DH, or sent DH back down to Academy. But after watching them play in the offseason, I mean, this team is scary. This team is so scary. Munchkin and Meteor teaming up again, being added to this core that won a Masters last year. For me, this is probably like the top, like, runaway top 3 team alongside like Paper X and maybe DRX. I think T1 looks incredible. And for that reason, I think they should be able to beat Nongshim here, even though I think Nongshim is going to be a solid team this year. Okay, this one is definitely very interesting. So obviously last year, DRX and Talon had some interesting dynamics going on with Termi and Frost. That is seemingly removed now. It's just the full sense or the Talon players against DRX. But yeah, I don't know. This one's a hard one to predict. I think probably we're going to send DRX through, but they played in the offseason and didn't look that great. They looked kind of out of practice, a little rusty. Maybe they've just been kind of taking it easy in the offseason because they didn't really make any roster moves, right? They kept the same roster that got, what was it, top 3 at Champions? Is that what they had? Top 3? It was, right? They were top 3 at Champs, I believe. And yeah, that's right. And they're just good. Like they're just consistently good. And I think this is kind of one of the situations where maybe we will see a little bit of that, like, new head coach. How's the prep gonna be? Um, it's tough. I mean, full sense is good, but I think we're gonna go ahead and put DRX through just to be kind of a basic berry here with our pick'ems. It's hard for me to it's hard for me to pick against Hyunmin and Mako. I will say that I need to see Freeing step up this year because I think the rest of the team showed a very good form, but Freeing was kind of like after the Teo meta changed, I didn't see quite the same level of impact from him. But I'm pretty confident that DRX is still going to be a very good team this year. All right, PaperX and Global Esports. Now, I think part of me really wanted to pick Global here before I watched PaperX play at the most recent offseason event. Just because of all the dynamics, Frost is constantly going back and forth with Alex and something. He's been trying to beat them forever, but he's never been able to do it. But then we've got Patman joining Global Esports, and he knows maybe how to beat PaperX. And then Crystal, for those of you who don't know, Crystal and something are like best friends, and they play together all the time, and they know each other very, very well. Whenever we played PaperX, I feel like Crystal had a pretty good handle on how to play against them. But I think PaperX just looked a little too good last time I saw them play. I had like one kind of worry about this team with the change from Patman to Envy, which was that how would the vibes be on the team? Just because Patman seemed like a really kind of like bright light for them when they were in stressful situations. And I don't know too much about Envy, but he seems kind of quieter. But I think that's probably not going to show up until like, like the real crunch time, championship type of games. And so for like a week 1 game, I don't see PaperX really having any sort of mental issues here. And so I think I'm going to have to pick them over Global just because, I mean, they looked great and they've got a lot of firepower. But there's some really interesting dynamics here. I'm super tempted to pick Global Esports just for the story and just to be, a little bit different. The Patman angle, revenge game, the Crystal versus something, the Frost maybe finally winning against something. Ooh, it's so tempting, but I just don't think I can do it. Okay. RRQ and Gen G. Now, this one is also very interesting because last year we kind of had this whole situation where RRQ would beat Gen G would beat PaperX, and PaperX would beat RRQ. And it's sort of like this cycle that was going on. But in the more recent games, it kind of, or I guess in the offseason, I think Gen G beat RRQ, if I remember correctly. And so I'm not really sure what to read into this. RRQ obviously kept the same roster as last year. They brought in Jovi as the head coach, replacing Ewok. And this team was just a good team last year. They're just a solid team. I think they were maybe a little bit readable as a team if I had one criticism for them, but they were just solid all around. And I feel like it's going to be a little bit hard for me to pick Genji to beat them without Munchkin. I just have a little bit of doubts about this Genji roster as far as what their ceiling is, and I kind of have to believe that this team is just going to be another solid team next year. Like their players are very good. As long as Jemkin has even a remotely similar year to what he had last year, they should be super good as well. Um, the Jovi to Ewok move, I don't really know. People keep saying Jovi's a good coach. I don't know him that well, so I don't know. It's always hard to tell, but I guess this will be a pretty good test. I'm going to go ahead and give RQ the benefit of the doubt in this case, and we're going to send them through over Gen G. And that brings us to our middle round, Team Secret versus Gen G. Again, the Gen G peak is, I don't know. I don't exactly know where it is, but the Team Secret roster, I mean, I don't know. I don't know where it is either. I think, this is kind of a tough one, honestly. Part of me is sort of tempted to take Team Secret here just because, and I apologize for making these videos so long, but I kind of just want to look at this for a second. So we saw Gen G play a couple of offseason events. They beat SLT, cool. They did beat RQ in like the very first match of the Soup League. And then at the Radiant Invitational, they won some best of ones and then lost to Paper X fairly decisively. And yeah, I feel like this team is just gonna be kind of like a solid middle of the road team this year. Maybe in that like fifth, sixth area, somewhere in there. Is Secret better than that? Probably not. Probably not. So maybe we just go Gen G here. I mean, I don't want to be too down on this though, because but I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of like hit and miss players on this roster, so I think we can feel pretty confident that Gen G goes through. Okay, Zeta Division versus Global. I mean, like I said, I just have like basically no faith that Zeta Division is going to be able to do anything this year. And until proven otherwise, I'm just going to pick against them. So Global's going to go through pretty easily. Barrel versus Full Sense. This one should be a banger, honestly. We've got a ton of firepower, a ton of very, very aggressive players. This one is very interesting. Oops, I didn't mean to actually pick that. But I think I might be leaning Varel. Although, I don't know. I'm just not sure about the Crew's move to head coach. How's it going to look? I mean, they have Primy, they have Jit. Leviathan is a good player. Are they going to be able to reach the peaks that they had last year, though? I'm not so sure. I think I'm going to go Varel. But I don't feel very confident about this. I feel like this is just going to be one of those, like, everybody's just running around fragging. These guys are going to get away with some heinous stuff in the server. Going to catch Full Sense a little off guard, maybe trying to play their game. They're not going to have the calming influence of Frost and Jovi. I'm really just writing a narrative right now, and I don't even know if I believe it. But we're going to go Varel here. Nongshim versus DFM. I think for me, this is a pretty easy Nongshim. Again, I don't know what the hell is going on with DFM. Like, who's their last player? Have they re-signed their coaches? What's going on with this team? Apparently, everything's being announced in a few days. So I probably should wait to the video, but I'm not going to. So we will just go ahead and send Nongshim through. I reserve the right to change my pick'ems if DFM comes out with like Aspas as the last player on their team or something like that. But that's going to ruin a bunch of my other pick'ems in the Americas video as well. Okay, let's talk about the first elimination matches. Team Secret versus Zeta. I think here I'm just going to go Secret again. Sorry, Japan, I guess is what it's going to be because we're going to send both of your teams out in the first two eliminations. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Japan, maybe Mini will be able to do some God's work this year, but I don't see it happening right away. And I feel like there's some pretty serious issues with like the talent pipeline in Japan. Like I said, there's some very talented players in Tier 2 Japan that are not being brought up onto either of these teams, and I don't understand why. I suppose it's probably a bit of maybe buyout money stuff, but yeah, I mean, there's some great players in Japanese Tier 2, and I haven't seen them being brought up onto either of these teams for the last 2 years, so I'm not totally sure what's going on. Um, Full sense, we'll just say, I don't know, just slightly better players. Um, there's always a chance that May drops like 70 kills in 2 maps and wins them a nice game here, but I'm not confident that DFM is going to be able to put it together either. So we'll just go with kind of like the devil we know here with full sense. All right, let's go up to upper round 3. You know, we're in League of Legends world, right? T1, DRX, Gen G, the Korean overlords are really taking over. For me, this is going to be such a sick game if this actually happens. We've got DRX versus former DRX. We've got Termi facing down his former players. Ooh, God, this one could be so sick. For me, I'm just gonna keep picking T1. Honestly, like what I saw in the offseason event made me so confident that this team is going to be incredible this year. I really feel like, as long as they don't mentally implode, they will be such a dangerous team to face. I think we're going to see MVP level Meteor again. And I think that Munchkin sort of fits the way that, like, he fits the culture of these players and the org pretty well. T1 is an org with the highest expectations in Korea, and bringing in a player who's known for being incredibly diligent and sort of passionate about getting things right, I feel like it's a good fit. So I'm very confident that T1's going to be good this year. All right, PaperX RQ. This one's another pretty interesting one. But I'm just going to go with PaperX. Like, again, they just looked a little too good for me. I think RQ is a team that can kind of get drawn into the chaos when they don't want to be by a team like PaperX, where they want to kind of hold onto their structure, and that's sort of one of the reasons that they can beat Gen G, because they can prepare for them well. They can make sure that they've got all of their protocols in place. But PaperX is just going to be like, you got to play our game. And I think in those types of situations, RQ tends to make a few more mistakes, and that allows a team like PaperX to exploit them. So we're going to go ahead and send PaperX through. This should be a good game, and so it'll be interesting. Again, this is like another good test for maybe Jovi in the head coach role. How good is he? How good can he be? He couldn't beat PaperX when he was on Talon, but maybe he can with this new group of guys. But for me, I think PaperX goes through. Middle round 2, Gen G versus Global Esports. I think for me, this one's going to be Global. And I know you're typing in the comments right now, bias. But honestly, I just am not totally sold on Gen G. Like, they played well in the offseason, but I didn't necessarily love what I saw. I think that they're a team that probably you can game plan against a bit, because I don't think they're going to have quite the same level of flexibility and proactivity without Munchkin. I think Munchkin is sort of like the main problem, and he's no longer there. So I think that firepower wise, the teams match up pretty well. And I'm kind of banking on the fact that Frost knows how to win, Patman knows how to win, Autumn knows how to win. And also, I guess I will say this: Udaton is known internally as the Korean Slayer. Every single time we would scrim a Korean team last year or play a Korean team, he almost always showed up, dropped some bombs. So let's go with Global Esports beating Gen G here. Okay, Varel against Nongshim. I mean, this is an interesting one. This is a banger. Two Ascension teams, two very aggressive teams. I didn't mean to click that, but I think that's probably the way I'm going to go anyway. I feel like Nongshim is just a little bit of a better team. Again, I'm a little bit of a hater when it comes to these sort of like very aggressive, chaotic teams that come out of nowhere from tier 2. I just don't have a ton of faith that that's going to carry through into tier 1. And I feel like a team that has played in tier 1 for a whole year and shown me that they do know what they're doing at the higher level should have the advantage in this game. So we'll send Nongshim through. Lower round 2, Secret against Varel. Okay. So how much of a hater am I? How much of a hater am I? Think I'm gonna go. Trying to think about how the new. I think I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go Varel here. The new meta, Jesse Vash, he's like notorious Sova player. Is he going to be able to get as much value on the Sova in the new meta, or is he going to get kind of destroyed by the lack of utility? This one is close, I think. I think this one is pretty close. Ooh, I kind of want to just like bet on Kelly S, my former player, and the experience of the team. You know what? Let's go secret here. This is me sort of sending them a flyer. This is you can type bias for this one. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about this one. But I'm kind of just flipping a coin. Let's go secret over Varel here. Again, I'm not a total believer in the Varel system. I don't believe in the secret system either because I don't know what it is, but we'll take them anyway. Full Sense versus Gen G. This is definitely a very difficult elimination match for both of these teams. Primi versus Texture. Charon. Ooh, in the elimination match, I think I got to go with experience here. Even though I don't totally trust this Gen G team, I think I trust them more than I trust Full Sense. Again, I'm kind of leaning into these narratives like, okay, it's the young head coach. They're going to get diffed a little bit. They don't really have the leadership as much. I could be totally wrong. Full Sense could be super sick. I have no idea. But we're going to go Gen G here. All right. We'll wait on this one. Let's go to the middle round 3. Global versus DRX. Frost versus Termi. God, please give me this matchup. I need this one directly into my veins. Global versus DRX, middle round 3. Frost versus Termi. Oh, boy. Who's winning this one? Who is winning this one? Who is winning this one? I don't know. I don't know who's winning this one. I wish I knew a little bit more about what Global was doing. I've done a little snooping. I've seen some players playing roles in ranked that I wasn't expecting. I'm not gonna say anymore because I don't want to blow up their spot, but I'm not sure. I'm genuinely not sure what they're cooking. I think I'm gonna go DRX as much as it pains me. I hope there's a fist bump. I hope something happens on stage. Not too bad. Nothing too bad, but I hope something happens on stage. So tempted to take global there. I don't think I can do it. Okay. Let's go Nongshim versus RQ. This is another very interesting one for me. I think I'm going to go Nongshim here. This might be a little crazy. I kind of bet on them last year and they disappointed me a little bit in playoffs, but I think that with another year under their belt, I think they'll be in a good spot. I liked what I saw from them in Ascension. I liked the relationship between Danby, Francis, X Ross. I'm going to lean into it. Nongshim's going to go through. Team Secret versus Global. Sorry, Kelly S. Your former team's going to beat you. I think that there's just a pretty clear skill diff between these two teams, at least in my point of view. And I think we're just going to go with Global here. You know, as long as they're not tilted from losing to DRX, as long as Frost hasn't been deported from the country or whatever might happen, we'll we'll send Global through. Gen G versus RQ, the rematch. Who won the first one? RQ did, and you know what that means. Gen G's going to win the next one. I mean, honestly, I don't really know, but I feel like that would make sense to me. I think it's going to be hard for RQ to beat them 3 times in a row, right? They beat them in the offseason once. I have them beating them here. And then I feel like Gen G will have learned at this point, maybe coming off a little bit of a momentum game. RQ's lost 2 games in a row. Are they going to be able to recover? I'm going to say no. Ooh, Global versus Gen G. We had them beating Gen G earlier. And I just talked about this whole narrative. Gen G versus Global. Nope. The bias is coming out. Global's going through. Don't ask questions. I'm changing my logic as we go. It's okay. DRX versus Nongshim. I feel like this could be a very sick game. We've got basically like 10 incredible aimers in the server, all playing against each other. I feel like this is going to be a little bit of an experience diff, a little bit of a coaching diff for me. So I'm going to send DRX through. It's tough. It's a tough one. But I think it's DRX here. Okay. Global versus Nongshim. I'm going to come back to that one. Because I need to buy myself some time. T1 versus PaperX. This is going to be a sick upper final to qualify. If this actually happens, I think honestly, I'm going to go. Actually, okay. Again, the video is getting long, but I need to deep dive here. I need to know Munchkin, his win rate against PaperX. Munchkin versus PaperX. How good is he against PaperX? Okay. He beat them here at EWC. He beat them at Masters Toronto. He beat them at Stage 1. He beat them at Radiant Invitation. I've seen enough. Munchkin knows how to beat him. T1 goes through as the first qualified slot. Ooh, PaperX versus DRX. PaperX versus DRX. This is a good game too. Now we're at that place where it's like, okay, obviously Envy is an incredible player, but we're talking about qualification lines, and DRX is going to have some good prep for you, and they're going to be able to shoot back. I mean, these could be some really sick qualification games. PaperX versus DRX. Okay. we're diving again. Okay, DRX versus PaperX. Oops, it's the wrong one. DRX versus PaperX. What is Termy's record against PaperX? Okay, 2-0 at champs. Didn't play here. Okay, they got beat pretty handily at EWC. They beat them at this event. They lost here. They beat them here. Okay, it's kind of back and forth. I'm going to send PaperX through. In the second spot. And that means Global versus Nongshim for a chance to play DRX. Are we going to get Frost versus Termy for a second time? Ooh. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say Nongshim goes through here. I'm going to say Nongshim goes through. I'm not even gonna give any reason for it. I just don't know. It's so hard for me to put my brain in that headspace. I do know that Crystal hates playing against Danby. That's enough for me. Ooh, that hurts. For those of you who don't know, I want to see Global do well next year. I honestly do. I know that things didn't work out particularly well for me, but I do want to see them do well. But I'm gonna have them going out in lower round 5. I think it's gonna be a little bit of, it is a new team, right? Coming together. They do have, experienced coach and all that, but Nongshim's been playing together for a while. Like I said, I'm a Nongshim believer. I think they're good. Do I believe in them to qualify though over DRX? I don't think that I do. I think they're going to get Lil Broed a little bit by DRX. Unfortunately for them, I mean RB revenge game. Ooh, that's kind of spicy. RB revenge game. Okay, before I commit to this, I'm going to drag this out a little bit longer. DRX did beat Nongshim here. They beat them here. They lost a BO1, but they beat them in 2 BO3s and another BO1. All right, we're going to go DRX. Sorry, Nongshim. Oh, it's so boring. T1, PaperX, DRX. Boring pick'em. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you next time. Appreciate you. See ya.